G'day, we are continuing a couple of reviews on fine head ratchets. Last time we looked at the Daytona 108 tooth, which is kind of your real kind of base level, entry level fine tooth ratchet. This time we're stepping it up a little bit. We're still in the kind of, probably I would say entry level, ain't no snap-on territory here. But we're again talking about fine tooth ratchets and what your options are. This is another one. One thing to note here is not all tool brands will offer you a fine tooth ratchet. So for example, when we started doing tool reviews, one of the things I covered was that when I started out, working on cars, learning, the mechanic trade, is that everything I did was blue. So it was all king chrome stuff because that's what my boss had, and I kind of, looked up to him, so just followed his tool brand of choice, which was king chrome. I've spread out then since and own all sorts of brands. I'm not really brand centric anymore. Well, I'm not brand centric anymore. But king chrome don't offer you a fine tooth ratchet option. I saw the king chrome rep at a field day recently, was talking to him, and confirmed no, king chrome actually haven't got that as an option. So if you want a king chrome option, you don't have one. There is no king chrome fine tooth ratchet option, and that's true for a number of tool brands. So you just can't get anything more than your standard circa 72 tooth ratchet. If you don't like that, well, change brands. So I've done the Daytonas. That was my first kind of entry into fine tooth ratchets. At a similar time, I got these, which are Gearwrench 120 XPs. These are flex heads though. These aren't the fixed heads they do. So Gearwrench will offer you a fine tooth 120 XP. So they're called 120 XPs. 120 is the number of teeth that they have. And you can get them in flex head or fixed. And that's what they look like. So these are not as old as my Daytonas. I've had the Daytonas for a few years. These are only probably coming up to a year. Basic things. They come in an Eva foam slide. Get that out. There it is there. So Eva foam thing for your toolbox. That's not unhelpful. I think I got these on special. Good thing about Gearwrench, like them or not, Gearwrench tools do great promotions. They really do, particularly if you ever want to get into a set of ratchet spanners. My ratchet spanners, I got a massive set of ratchet spanners from Gearwrench years ago, and it was buy the metric set, get the imperial set free. Fantastic deal, which is why I bought them. Just nothing came close to them. And when Gearwrench do promotions, they do really good promotions. So these ones, generally about $250 you'll find them for. It's a set of 4. Your little stubby one, slightly larger 3/8, and then your longer handled 1/2 inch, and then your standard size 1/2 inch as well. So that's what you get with it. The Eva foam inclusion is not unhelpful, particularly if you've got a roll cab. If you don't, you're just putting them on a truck box or something. You probably you might keep them in the Eva foam, but otherwise you might just have them sitting in your tool drawer. But for me, living in the roll cab, the Eva foam is not unhelpful. So first things you like about them. Look, these are very similar design to the Daytona. I think when I did the Daytona one and said, these might feel a little better the hand, like holding them compared to the Daytonas. There's not much in it. The finish is pretty good. They've held up well. No pitting. The chrome's held up quite well. The Gearwrench etching and everything's held up. There's a few marks around the head, which you would expect with the amount of work these things have done. But these are still being worn in, as it were. Everything works still. The ratchet still works well. The flex head click, that's still nice and solid for setting it. No complaints there. Functionally, everything is fine. They're a different thing, the flex heads. So I bought these to supplement my Daytonas because I really thought I'd use the Daytona if they were any good. Fine tooth ratchets a lot more than these. I just got these for doing specific jobs. Again, why you want fine tooth? It's being in an engine bay, under a dash, somewhere where there's not much room, and you've just got that really fine movement that you can get to that next tooth, and even if you have to do it incrementally, you can eventually get your nut or your bolt undone. And the flex head element here, to just change that little angle so that you can get in somewhere that you might not have otherwise. You can go full 90 degrees if you want to. You know, go the other way if you need to get up and around something. So that really will help you too. So if you're working in an engine bay or something, that will give you more maneuverability. As I said, I really did think that I'd use the Daytonas more because of the fixed head. I was super worried, despite my brother who's got a set of these, assurances that these would be absolutely, you know, they're going to be absolutely fine for everyday use. Just use the flex heads, don't worry about it. And I went, gee, yeah, I might be like flopping around and it's going to be a pain. No. I see what he means. These are as much a spanner of choice for me as anything else. And you know, the real utility in this is if you grab one of those and you know your size of your socket, bam, your socket on there, go to undo something. If you can't quite get it, you don't have to come back for a spanner or something. You should be able to just maneuver your flex head and get in anywhere you want to get, and it should all be fine. So, you know, the ones I use the most, I don't use the breaker as much as I thought I would, the long handle. I don't actually use that as much as I thought. I probably use the 3/8 more, you know, just because the handle's so long. But you know, you do use it, but I use that more for, you know, a breaker bar. The 3/8 is probably more use, which is a real change for me because most of my socket sets are in 1/2 inch, like my lock-on socket set's in 1/2 inch. So I've got to use a reducer on that one, which is why the Daytona fixed head lives in there, because it's just a standard, you know, ratchet length. So that's the one that gets more use. But the long handle, if I've got to break something, then that's fine. But I find sometimes it's just a little bigger than what I like, so I'd use the 3/8 in preference. So that's fine. Get your little quarter. The quarter, again, all of these are longer than normal because to cater for the flex head, right? So this is longer than my little Daytona, which is only that long, which is why the Daytona still gets some use, even if the Gearwrench gets more use than it does. So they're just all that little bit longer. But as an alternative, you got a 3/8 real stubby to go in between. I think I said that wrong at the start. So you get two 3/8s, you get the stubby 3/8, the longer 3/8, the long one which is 1/2 inch, and then the little quarter inch as well. So I think I got that wrong, from memory. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So things I like about them, the finish is okay. It's not, you know, it's good, it's fine. I've held better ratchets. I don't know. You know, that's with that kind of teardrop handle. It's fine. I was kind of a bit partial to a couple of the original King Chrome set I had that had a rubber handle. Well, it wasn't actually rubber, but it was good, well, rubber-esque, I suppose. I really like that handle. I kind of miss it, but you know, a steel handle's not going to deteriorate. But my King Chrome one never did. In fact, I always seemed to chew the guts out of the head before I wore that, before I even got close to wearing the grip out. Yeah, good solid switch, clunker. Not like doesn't suffer from the same flaw as my Daytona, or not nearly as much, not noticeably, where you're just ratcheting along and then for inexplicable reason the switch flicks the other way. Doesn't do that, so that's good. The Gearwrench has a lifetime warranty. The Daytona does not, so that's important. And I haven't claimed on these. Haven't had to claim on these, but I have claimed from Gearwrench before I chewed well, actually it fell apart, the ratchet head on a spanner I had. Now there was a little bit of a error with the local, well, I don't have a Gearwrench rep locally, but taking it back there was a little bit of an error, but Gearwrench came through and I did get my replacement ratchet, and they gave me some Gearwrench swag as well to say sorry for the inconvenience of stuffing up the return. So Gearwrench lifetime warranty, that counts for something. That's a good thing. The EVA tray where you don't get an EVA tray, that's not going to count to everyone, but it's good for me because this lives in a drawer. You get 4 as opposed to 3 in that. They're longer. You get the flex. So downside is they're longer. To me, that's a bit of a downside. I'd probably prefer them to be shorter, but anyway, that is what it is. But the plus side is you get the flex head, and to get the flex head, they're a bit longer. So you just got to live with that. But you know, finish functionality wise, they're great. 120 teeth as opposed to the Daytona's 108, or 120 teeth compared to your traditional 72. Gearwrench they use 2. It's in the gearing. It's 2 what do they call them? Calls, I think, of 60. So you put the 2 60s together, and that gets you your 120. Because as covered previously, the downside of fine tooth ratchets is that you lose those big teeth on your gearing, and that can cause just not to have as robust a ratchet, because you're just putting the same amount of, you want to put the more amount of strain, or the same amount of strain on finer teeth can shear your teeth off. So but with the 120, I haven't had any problems with it, but that's how they get around that, by putting the 2, as I said, I think they call them calls, in the head. That's how they get around it, to still have a solid ratchet you can swing off, and continue to live on. So things I don't like the Gearwrench head. It's massive. If you get the 120 XP non-flex head, it's the same. When you look at it compared to a traditional ratchet, the head looks massive. So if I get out ½ inch, you can see the difference. There you go. You can see the difference in the head size. That is enormous compared to that. And the standard 120, and if you want size, that's ½ inch there. That's the ½ inch Gearwrench version. Way, way bigger. So yeah, that size, with size comes weight. These are heavier. The bigger head, I don't like that so much. No push button release, because I gather all your gearing in here is solid to make it stronger. So no push button release. That's a bit of a downer. And it doesn't matter if you get the flex head or the fixed head. That head is still really, really large. So I mean, look, you get options. So you can go down to your 1/4 inch or your 3/8 to get you to have a smaller head if you need to get into somewhere that's too tight for this. But it's bigger, it's longer. You got to factor that in. But look, compared to the 2 of them, which one would I own? I'd own these. I really would. They're as well a finish. They feel as good in the hand as the Daytonas. They don't have that annoying switch, inexplicably locking up or flicking backwards and forwards when you're under strain. So that's a massive thing for me, because it's just so annoying. Even with no push button release, even with the bigger head, you get 12 extra teeth on this one, so it's that little bit finer. You get a lifetime warranty, 4 instead of 3. They're bigger, but you get more of them, so you should be able to find one that suits the job you need. I think all round, these are the ones to get, in my opinion. This is as expensive as I've gone, so I can't tell you versus Snap-on, because look, if you're going to buy Snap-on, you ain't in the market for a Gearwrench, like realistically. And I'm not in the market to buy Snap-on tools. I'm just not making a living on them. I'm not swinging off them every single minute of every single day. I can't remunerate that gap in pricing. So these are perfectly fine for me, and they've held up fine. These are one of the better Gearwrench additions I've made to the workshop. My original Gearwrench ratchet spanners, they're okay, but I would only describe them as okay. I have used better, but these are fine. I would, if you want a fine tooth ratchet, this is probably where I'd look just for price, because I don't think you can get near them. Lifetime warranty, 120 teeth. There is the compromise in the bigger head, no push button release, but if you want a fine tooth ratchet, you don't want to spend any more money, this isn't a bad way to go. Other downsides, for me personally, it's probably, look, for 90% of you, this won't be a problem, but for me it is. I don't have a local Gearwrench dealer. So if I do have a warranty claim, I've got to go somewhere else to a Gearwrench dealer to do the warranty. And that's annoying. That's why we got into a bit of a bind when I did a warranty request on my ratchet spanners. That is what it is. But for 90% of you, you're probably going to be in the city or in a large regional area where there is a Gearwrench. You don't have to go far to get a Gearwrench dealer. It just so happens that there's not one here where I live. So, but I'm in a regional town, so, and that is what it is. But apart from that, I found Gearwrench good to deal with if you ever need to have a warranty. These things are, you know, they're pretty good. I'm not ready to say necessarily that 120 fine-tooth ratchets revolutionized my life, but they're pretty good. You know, like my preference would always be to use as fine a tooth as I can, because again, if I'm trying to break something, I'll use something with a coarse tooth or a breaker bar. But you know, just for undoing stuff, you know, general workshop stuff, these are the go. That's what that will be my preference in the toolkit. So would I buy them again? That's generally my yardstick for recommendations. Yes, I would. I wouldn't, unless someone came to me. So that set there, as I said, I got it for, what did I get it? I got it for 20% off $250. So I paid $200 with free delivery. For $200, yes, I would. I don't think you're going to get something better in that price range. So I would buy them again. 120 XPs are a thumbs up for me. I would buy them again. I do recommend them, noting the couple of drawbacks that they do have. But again, I gather that bigger head on them is there for a purpose, to make that gear head as strong as they can, even with the 120 teeth in the head, is something you want to be aware of. And with this set, with the flex head, they get a little longer, so you want to be aware of that. But as I said at the beginning, at the outset, my biggest concern was that I wouldn't be able to use them as just a normal ratchet, that flex head would always just, you know, move and would stop me from getting the purchase on a nut or a bolt that I really wanted. I haven't found that to be the case at all. As you can see, they still click really crisply, and they haven't shown any sign of age in the time that I've had them. You just put them where you want to, undo them. Sure, if you pull on them the wrong way and push down, then they're going to click back, but really I haven't found it to be a problem such that I don't use them. I still alternate between ratchets, whether I use this one or the other fine tooth ones or whatever else I'm doing, or the 72 teeth. I migrate between them, but my brother has a set of them, and they're his primary set of ratchets. I asked him about them the other day, and he says they're the ones I use the most. I always go for a flex head and just use that. Likes the fine teeth, and the flex head gives him more maneuverability. So I hope that was useful. If you're in the market for a fine tooth ratchet, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.